VRATSA is a picturesque mountain town situated at the foot of majestic rocks and centuries-old forests of the VRATSA Balkan. It is located only 120 kilometers and an hour-and-a-half drive from the capital of Bulgaria, Sofia. One of the magnificent places for rest and relaxation throughout all seasons is Vestitele complex. It has an incredible view of the town of VRATSA and the monument of the Russian soldier who had announced the liberation of the town from Ottoman rule, reminding us still of the heroic winter of 1877. The fate of the town is inextricably bound up with the name of Hristo Botev, a genius poet and a renowned revolutionary from Bulgaria's revival period. The 12-meter monument displaying the stately figure of him as a chieftain gave rise to the name of the central square of the town and became one of its symbols. An impressive volunteer cross is raised high up on the top of Okolchica Peak, where Botev and many of his revolutionary fellows lost their lives. The memorial monument, a symbol of sacrifice in the name of Bulgaria, is 35 meters tall and can be seen from far away. For the last 120 years, every 2nd of June, there is a nationwide celebration in honor of Hristo Botev and all Bulgarian heroes that have given their lives for the country's freedom. This is also the end point of the national tourist route Kozloduy-Okolchica that follows the steps of Botev and his fellowship from the river bank of Danube up to here. Not far from the peak of Okolchica is Yolkovica locality, Hristo Botev's place of death. Only 2 kilometers further away in the bosom of the Balkan Mountains, you can come across a small meadow with a stone bearing a phrase from the poet Elisaveta Bagriana. This phrase is a reminder of the tragic events of 20th of May 1876. Your prophecy is fulfilled. You are alive. Hristo Botev and his army of 200 followers disembarked from the legendary steamer Radetzky on the bank of Kozloduy River to fight against the Ottoman Empire in Bulgaria. After 3 days of heavy fights, the leaders headed by the voivode secluded themselves to search for a solution to keep the honor of their detachment, but also their lives. And then, here comes the bullet. Sudden, treacherous, hostile. In his search for the resting place of Hristo Botev, more than a century ago, the patriarch of Bulgarian literature Ivan Vazov came to the Pogledets locality. Newer and newer beauties were revealed in front of the artist's eyes, and they inspired him to write one of his stories called A Bulgarian Woman. At the foot of Pogledets, there is the village of Chelopek, which is the birthplace of Vazov's heroine Grani Ilica. With donations and voluntary work, the local community turned her house into a museum. The interior bears the spirit of the Bulgarian revival. Among the many authentic objects of everyday life and typical local customs, there is also the cradle in which Grani Ilica carried her sick grandchild while rescuing one of Botev's comrades. Despite the tribulations, the child survived, and nowadays his descendants are on top of the family tree of this brave Bulgarian woman. In the years of Ottoman domination, when Christian values faced many trials, churches and monasteries played a special role. One of the spiritual wonders of Bulgaria is the Bistrets Monastery, Saint Ivana Frila, Pusti. Only a few meters away from the holy monastery, there is a cave where the monastery was originally founded. It has the shape of a giant shell sculptured in the rocks, with cavern water spring at its base. The legend says that Saint Ivan Rilsky dwelt in the rocks behind, and lived there in silence and fast. The cave is famous for its preserved iconographic rock masterpiece from the middle of the 16th century. Images of Saint Ivan Rilsky Pusti are still visible in the lower part, above the spring. In the 17th century, a goldsmith workshop operated at the Bystrets monastery. The most famous works of this period, a silver bowl with a gold ornament, the jewelry of the Cherepish Gospel, and a gilded silver cross with colored stones, are exhibited at the Regional Historical Museum in VRATSA. A true miracle of nature lies in the forest near the village of Lileche, the karst phenomenon called Buzhiet Most, which means the God's Bridge. It is accessible by a picturesque pathway. The enormous rocky arc is with impressive dimensions. The inside resembles a spacious hallway where nature has sculpted columns and domes, niches and cavities that supposedly serve as nests to owls, rock pigeons, butterflies and bats. The natural wonder Buzhiet Most was discovered and described at the end of the 19th century by the fathers of Bulgarian archaeology, the Shkorpil brothers. An amazing sight captured the eyes of all that has successfully reached Beglichka Mugila, the highest point of the Balkan mountain in VRATSA area. Once this place was at the bottom of the sea, and the rocks were formed from the shells of dead marine animals. Far to the south, one can see the peaks of Rila mountain, always covered with snow, and the nearby vicinity, the incredible natural phenomenon of Kubilini Steni and the picturesque Iskar Gorge. Not far from Beglichka Mugila, in the area of the village of Zgurigrad, the waterfall Borov Kamak descends from a height of 63 meters. The locality of the valuable plant species black pine has given the name of this fabulous place. It can be reached in two ways: by climbing up the mountain road that starts from the village, and by way of path that descends from the top of the cliff, a true challenge for lovers of extreme emotions. The waterfall Skakla is a real natural diamond. It is located just a few kilometers south of VRATSA, in one of the most picturesque parts of the mountain. It is the highest waterfall with changeable waters on the Balkan Peninsula, about 141 meters high. Every spring, the melting of the snow reveals its true glamour. In the summer, the waterfall dries up, and in the winter, it freezes in bizarre shapes. A legend tells how the water, sparkling under the rays of the rising sun, fascinated a Turkish pasha. It reminded him of a beloved woman's form. He named that beauty after her, Skakla. The cave Ledenika is one of the most beautiful ones in Bulgaria. It is open all year round and is extremely easy to access. Its main hall is called the Large Concert Hall because of its divine acoustics. The first concerts underground in Bulgaria were conducted here, and the tradition continues even today. The water has sculptured strange figures, among which are the giant, the falcon, and the biggest stalagmite in the cave, the stone vase. In winter, due to the frozen water pillars and the frosted shapes and figures, the cave resembles an icy palace. In one of the rocky niches, just above the concert hall, lies the Pond of Desires. According to common belief, if you dip your finger and strongly wish for something, it will surely come true. The space in front of the cave entrance is beautifully arranged. There are areas for family recreation, a visitor center, and attractions for the bravest. From VRATSA to Ledenika, there are several mountain routes and trails of different difficulty, or it can be reached by car, by an asphalt road in less than 20 minutes. The VRATSA part of the Balkan Mountains also offers many extreme ways of relieving stress and getting in touch with the wildlife of the region. Among them are activities that require special skills, serious preparation, and excellent equipment, such as paragliding and climbing. The natural landmark VRATSA Gorge is one of the few places that allow the climb to start straight from the ground. The rocks are vertical, with a height of more than 400 meters, making them the highest of this type on the Balkan Peninsula and the most popular alpine site in Bulgaria. The climbing routes in the region are more than 300, in the alpine more than 140, some of which are emblematic for Bulgarian mountaineering. VRATSA is a gorge of the river Leva. In the Middle Ages, the rock portal was called Vratica. Not far from it, there was a village, one of the last Bulgarian fortresses to fall under Ottoman rule at the end of the 14th century. Today, VRATSA is one of the emblems of the town, and it is the coat of arms of VRATSA. Be our guests, partners, and followers. Time is a string of encounters with places and people. It is embroidered by the majesty and beauty of nature, of our past, and of our precious values. They all inspire us to live freely and with responsibility for future generations. And this is the main mission of the Knygini Association.